What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the latest episode of Survive. With Keith and Lorcan. I can only imagine the amount of people that listen to that first 3 seconds that are like, nope, not for me.
Like,
I'm gone.
What is it? What is it?
I was check the analytics to see how many people leave straight away. Anyway, this is the show where we take 4 fictional characters every week and we put them in a situation where they are in a small abandoned town and one of them has to keep you alive while the other 3 try and take you out, not for dinner, the other way. This week we have a fun episode because we are focusing on some villains who would legitimately try and take you out. So this is going to be an equal enough kind of round. But before we get into that, be sure and check us out on Instagram because we would have put up a poll for this earlier on in the week. So you can vote for who you would choose yourself, why you would choose them. And what we're hoping to do is we'll start pulling some quotes out from you guys as well, and see if any of you guys agree with what we actually say when we record the episode. But yes, so we have villains this week. Also subscribe to the channel for more episodes like this weekly. Blah blah blah. Lorcan, are you excited for villains?
I'm excited for villains. I love this. I love a crafty crew of miscreants, and that's what we have here today. Full miscreants.
It is in the past. Yes, exactly. The past couple of episodes we've had more kind of like heroes on a similar power set, whereas now with these villains they all have very different power sets, so it's going to be curious to see. We haven't spoken with this beforehand, so I'm curious to see who you've gone for. So the 4 characters we have are Thanos without any Infinity Stone. So Thanos, we'll say from Endgame when he had the big swingy helicopter sword. So that version of Thanos. We have Loki, any version of Loki, because he's basically the same kind of power level, but any version of Loki from the MCU, let's say Avengers level Loki. We have Darth Vader.
Nice. All
the way from the Star Wars universe. First Star Wars character we've had on it so far. And then from the X-Men universe, we have Magneto. We haven't said a specific version. Let's go with the Fassbender's version from Days of Future Past, because that's a pretty powerful and competent version of Magneto.
Lifting stadiums.
Exactly, with ease. With ease. Okay, so you have these 4 villains at the power level we spoke about.
Yeah.
3 of them are trying to kill you in a small abandoned town. Not big enough that you can hide for 24 hours, but big enough that you can hide for certain sections. They are trying to kill you, and one of them is trying to keep you alive. I'm very curious. Who do you think, or who would you choose in this situation?
I think this is an easy one for me. I think there's a coward's way out of this as well, and I'm going to pick it. I think Loki is the one to keep you safe. They're all wild cards here, so they're all bad blokes as well. But like Loki, so Loki could, and we've seen him do it in films before as well. He'd just have like holograms or reflections or like dummies put up everywhere of either you or him or someone else, and it would keep people preoccupied for probably the 24 hours, because it's not as if he's a limited number of them. He could do one and then someone would go over and try and get them or whatever like that, and then he'd do another one and do another one and do another one, and then he'd always stay away from where everything is happening as well. And I reckon we could do that for basically all 24 hours and kind of keep them up as well, because it's not as if we're in like it's a small town, but like I'm assuming the town's probably like a couple of mile kind of in diameter as well, so it's not as if it's like in like one small area where eventually if you just swing hard enough, or if you do something hard enough, you throw something, it's going to hit someone. So it's like they're going to be all spaced out at that point in time. And Loki he can't fly, but he can definitely, he can't teleport either, but we could sneak around. So he could as well. So I do think while in terms of power, he's definitely up there, and I think he could give definitely like Vader a good go as well, like depending on how the Force works in this situation. Same with Magneto to a degree again, but like Magneto could probably just bend his helmet inwards or something along those lines. Thanos is an interesting one as well, because this Thanos did kill Loki, but he had 2 stones at that stage as well. Or just 1 stone at that stage.
That's the first argument I was going to make against you, was that Thanos has already killed Loki, even with his like trickery and his like holograms that you.
I feel like there's a different situation
depending your entire life on.
They're on a spaceship and they have to kill him, whereas I think this case is just Loki has to survive for 24 hours, and I feel like if he survives for 24 hours and keeps you alive, I think he can do that with trickery. I think
so. Is your ideal?
He's not going to do it.
Yeah, your ideal situation is that each one of the other 3 people think they have killed you through a hologram, and they just give up. Vader's just like, oh, I
Well,
sliced
there's a
him in
bit of
half
that.
there, and he just walks away.
There's a bit of that where like either he can make it seem that they have killed us to see what the story is, to see, like, I'm not sure what the rules of the universe would be. Would like a wall pop up, or would a big, like, are we talking like the Hunger Games where like the cannons go up and you see the dead body on the ceiling type of thing? But like
exactly, so they know you.
so
Yeah,
they
I'm
know you're
saying
not
something like that.
dead
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, like it's the case that if you just have something, and like Loki's smart enough that he'll probably have dummies of dummies. So like, he'll do the obvious dummy, and then someone like Vader or Thanos is going to be like, stupid Loki, I know you're not that one, you're this one. But he'd also
Yeah.
have a second one for the backup of that, and potentially even a third, so that
Yeah.
those kind of big thinkers don't come true, and he's completely in the last place that you'd think. Or he can just do a full Doctor Strange and just completely pollute the entire area with dummies and lookalikes, to the point where it's just frustrating and spammy almost, that it'd just be luck of the draw that they'd kill you. Because the only one here as well, like Magneto, fair enough, there's probably logic to say that he could create some big giant saw with like all the metal material, and then just quickly keep on flying around doing laps of the town, slicing everything into constantly for 24 hours until he gets you. And there's probably a way that could happen as well, because Loki, like as I mentioned before, I don't think Loki could bring the fight to really any of these.
Yeah, no.
So like it's purely a coward way out. Like if he can trick people for 24 hours, I reckon he'll do it, and I think he probably could.
Do you think he can stop the ultimate hunter of Vader?
Oh,
like I wouldn't take Vader to keep me alive.
Yeah.
Because he just wouldn't care. But like, I also the only when I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, which one of them can stop Vader? Like that's all I'm thinking of is who can stop Vader? Because when Vader's coming for you, like Vader's not going to stop. Like I think if he came face to face with Thanos, I think he'd finish off Thanos, because we've seen Scarlet Witch almost killed him. Yeah, and he'd finish off Loki if it was a legit face to face with Loki. The only thing that would stop him is Magneto, because he can just rip him to shreds essentially, because he's just fully made of metal essentially.
So Magneto could take out Vader purely with the metal as well, but like, is there something to say that, like, I don't know, he force ghosts, because it's been established as well that Yoda potentially can use force powers even when he's dead.
So even after you kill Vader, he just comes back and like starts hitting you with lightning.
Like Ghost Vader as well. So yeah, Vader is the only one who's pure relentless as well. Like I think you're totally right. I think Vader would take out Thanos. I think the only way to get past Vader, bar Magneto, would be to trick him and constantly trick him. But
who do you think, like, which is stronger, like Magneto trying to take Vader apart, or Vader using the Force not to be taken apart?
Well, see, the thing is, they're very similar, because while Magneto can use whatever the metal in Vader's body to crush him or bring him out, Vader can also use the Force to do the exact same thing to him.
Yeah.
So like, there is that case where
they just take each other out.
They could take each other out as well, and I think they're probably evenly matched across the board as well. The only thing that I can see Magneto doing something in is that he can kind of, I suppose, shift the metal as well. So like, he can get the metal, and we'll say if there's like houses and sheds and that sort of stuff, rather than just taking that and throwing it, he could essentially, like I said, turn it into like one big slick saw that's 360 degrees.
He does have this idea of a saw chopping up a small abandoned town.
Like basically just a saw that goes through the entire town constantly, and then eventually gets you. So yeah maybe.
That's actually, it's a good point. Like, in terms of, because the three heavyweights obviously are Magneto, Vader, and Thanos, but I don't think any of them, it's almost as if like they can't all take each other out.
Yeah.
Whereas Loki can just be a trickster and hide.
See,
like, be a giant coward and hide for 24 hours.
And I do think he could out-trick all of them. I think the only person who would be close to figuring him out would be Vader, bar the giant saw from Magneto. But then even Vader, the thing is, I think Loki he's so smart and so crafty as well that he could probably get the best of Vader for 24 hours. Anything longer, Vader would probably take him out. Like, there's that whole thing that eventually if Vader gets any sort of one-on-one time, he probably would do it. But I think for 24 hours, I think Loki could figure out a way to just get away from everyone, and to be convincing enough, like with the holograms and stuff. So I think it has to be Loki for that reason. I don't know where you're standing. Are you still standing on potentially Vader or Magneto?
No, like my original thought was potentially Magneto because he just like put you in a big metal ball that no one can get into.
I thought of that too as well.
Hover
Where,
you above the
again,
sky for a while. But then Vader's got the Force. He'd bang you around in the ball.
kill you inside of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, like Magneto would think you're fine in there, but Vader's like choking you inside the ball. That's the thing. Like if Vader gets within like 100 meters of you, he's just going to force choke you.
Well,
you know,
that
so
as well.
Even there, even before he gets close to you, you're done for. Or actually, which wasn't it in Empire where he just force choked like one of the guys on a different ship? So like if Vader lands in that town, he's just gonna like find you with the Force.
Well,
and
like
just instantly force choke you.
You know, it completely depends on what power the Force has in this as well. Because like if the Force is able to detect real life forms, because like as you said before, like he can detect people and he can choke people from across, you know, massive distances as well, and he knows when Luke's around, you know, on a different planet essentially. So like Vader could land in the town and just see through all the holograms and know exactly which one you
actually
are.
There's my call. I'm definitely going to go for Vader because I feel like he'd be fit to figure out which is the real Loki.
Yeah,
and I reckon Vader would be fit to take out the other three before they could take you out.
Maybe
because he's just such a rampaging lunatic. If he was like, I need to keep you safe, the only way I can do that is by killing them, so I'm just going to go and do it. Whereas with John Wick, with John Wick, and I read in one of our previous episodes, I didn't think he could do it before they'd get you. In this one, I feel like because I almost think all three of them, bar Loki, would have the same opinion of just like, I need to kill Vader to get to him. Yeah, like none of them would be like, oh, I'm going to be sneaky, apart from Loki. And I feel like Vader would figure him out. Like he'd know which one is the real one or whatever. Whereas like Magneto is just going to try and kill Vader. Yeah, Thanos is just going to try and kill Vader. And I don't think I think Vader would take both of them.
Yeah, they totally think they could outmatch him as well. Like Magneto's going to come in and go, this dude's all metal, and then he'll just crush his head. Basically, Vader will just crush the helmet inwards and kill him immediately. And then again, same with Thanos as well. Like Thanos is a powerful warrior, but like you literally just float him above the ground and he has no buoyancy. What the fuck is he going to do? Like, you know what I mean? Like
he's just banging him off the ground over and over again.
But Loki is the only one. But yeah, if Loki's up against him one-on-one, it's not going to happen. But like it all comes down to the fact of whether or not Vader can sense you. If Vader can't sense you, then it has to be Loki. But if he can sense you, then it has to be Vader, I suppose.
Yeah, okay, so there's our top two choices. I don't think either of us are fully confident, but I'm confident in Vader. I think he'd do it.
No, I'm confident enough in Loki. I think Loki would keep you safe.
Okay, there we go. Two different sides of an argument. Let's hear from you guys now. Let us know below which would you think. I'm curious if anyone would take Magneto or Thanos, because I do feel like they could, but I also don't have the argument myself for why they could. So I'm curious if you think either of those. Let us know below why you think either one of those would do it. And like we said before, subscribe for more content like this. Follow us on Instagram for loads of content like this and lists and all the latest news and movies and TV shows and video games and comic books and all that fun stuff. And sure, I guess we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.